everyone. Welcome aboard the ultimate voyage to resilience. I am your host, Ambar Paloma, and you're listening to The Lighthouse Within. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than my usual episodes. Normally I'm sharing tons of my personal life experiences, but this podcast is mostly about what it means to navigate changes in life, whether that's a small change or a big life transformation. So today what I want to do is walk you through each season of change: summer, fall, winter, and spring. And I want to help you figure out where you are and what support you need to keep moving through your season of change and back into your summer season, which is when life is good and living is easy. This is also a great model that you can come back to time and time again, because one thing I know about life is that it is always changing. So whether you're facing a personal change like a job loss or a breakup, a positive change like starting a business or becoming a mom, or even something entirely out of your control like the California wildfires or political instability, this model will help you understand how to move through that time and time again. So if you haven't hit subscribe, go ahead and do that now, and let's get started. So as you know, I recently started working on my coaching certification, and I'm super excited to be offering one-on-one coaching this year for those facing life changes. And I was introduced by this model by one of my teachers, Dr. Fields, and it's honestly something I wish I had when I was navigating my quarter-life crisis, my big move abroad, and even my most recent breakup. All of those experiences taught me how much change can throw you entirely off balance, and also how comforting it would have been to have a roadmap through it all. That's why I'm super excited to introduce you to the Seasons of Change model. It all begins with summer, the season of stability, ease, and joy. I am really biased because I was born in the summer, so I think that this is the best season ever. I also grew up in the land of endless summer, also known as Miami, and I just love me some sunshine. I feel like all the best things happen in the summer, like you have beach days, concerts, festivals, rooftop parties. Even the fruits and vegetables are showing out in the summer. I don't know about you, but I actually love eating seasonally, so I actually change what fruits and vegetables I eat according to the season, and that makes sure that I try different things, but also it's cheaper and tastes better. And summer has some of the best produce. Anyways, all this to say, summer is it. When you are in your summer season, you are living good. It's giving summertime and the living is easy. Things feel like they're going your way, the sun is shining, everything's great. This is a very stable time. We wish life was always lived in summer. But that's just not how life works, is it now? There was actually a study done by neuroscientists at Yale University that your stable season is when you learn the least. Yes! And I'm sure that you know this because you probably went through a hard time and you were like, that taught me a lot. So one of the researchers said, we only learn when there is uncertainty. If you want to maximize learning, you need to make sure you're doing hard things 70% of the time. If we know exactly what to expect and when to expect it, our brains have no reason to engage. We actually go on autopilot. But when we feel angst, instability, or restlessness, our brains are activated to learn something it would otherwise ignore. The research claims that stability is a shut-off switch for your brain. I know, right? So you don't actually need stability. Well, we hope for it most of the time, right? What you need is to learn how to face instability, which is actually what this podcast is all about. And this episode will help you see how to face it. So maybe you're in your summer right now, or maybe you're starting to feel the wind shift. That's always how it begins. Sometimes it's subtle, and other times it hits you like a storm. Either way, when something changes, whether suddenly or slowly, we enter fall. Let me give you some examples of sudden changes. This could be an unexpected breakup, a job loss, or the COVID-19 lockdown. It could also be a slow change, like if you're facing a personal medical diagnosis or you're watching someone slowly get worse and worse over time due to a health concern. It can also be a series of events. I remember when I first moved to Lisbon, it felt like I got a whole new life in 6 months. Like, have you ever been like, man, I just wish I could get to the point of my life where I had everything I wanted? Okay, I got that, and it was destabilizing because it was too much all at once. I actually burnt out because in 6 months, I got a new job, a new country, a new language, a new group of friends, a new apartment, and a new boyfriend. All happy changes, but it was a lot. Like, we don't talk enough about how much you have to adjust through every change. So, a series of nonstop changes can also send you into fall, even if all of the changes were good. Now, what are the common symptoms of being in fall? How do you know if you're in fall? You might notice that you're in the middle of a great transition already, but here are some other symptoms I want you to look for. 1, you have a feeling like I will never be the same after this. Or maybe you're thinking the world will never be the same after this. I think we all felt that way during COVID. And I remember people just kept referring to like the new normal. We have to get used to the new normal. This is our new normal. Yeah, that new normal is code for this will never be the same again. If you've ever been through a breakup, a job loss, or another devastating disappointment, you might have also experienced that on a personal level. This feeling like my life is about to change. The second thing I want you to look for is that this time is really destabilizing. And it's common for you to feel overwhelmed, like everything is a priority, but you don't even know where to start. It can also feel like you're experiencing an internal earthquake, but you're still expected to be okay. Another thing that's going on is that you lose your frame of reference. There are some assumptions you had built your life around that are no longer valid, and you're coming to terms with that. Think about somebody who's going through a divorce who was expecting that person to be in their life for the rest of their life, or someone who might have experienced a parent suddenly pass away. Anxiety, grief, helplessness, and shock is very common when you're in fall. The best way to describe the feeling of being in fall is like you're in free fall. Imagine you just stepped off a diving board and are just falling through the air and into the pool. That's free fall, and this is very common when you are in fall. The more uncertainty there is, the more this will cause your nervous system to go into fight or flight mode. So, if this description of fall resonates with you and you're feeling like the ground is shifting beneath you, I want you to pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what parts of my life feel like it's falling away right now? Just notice what comes up. No need to fix it, just name it. Because when you're in fall, the most important thing you can do is not to force your way through, but to find your footing. That starts with calming your nervous system, gathering information, creating a safe place for yourself, and reaching out for the proper support. As we move into the next season of your transition, you'll need that calm to begin finding your way forward. If you need help with that, go back and listen to the previous episode on nervous system regulation or grab the free Clarity Compass PDF in the show notes. And if you're ready for more personalized support, you can sign up for my one-on-one coaching waitlist. We'll build a nervous system reset plan that's tailored to exactly where you are. I want to add a special note here about deep uncertainty at this stage. If you have faced a series of events that have gone wrong, or you're facing a series of external changes that are out of your control, it can feel scarier than usual. That's because there is no template. You really do have to make it up as you go. Let's think back to COVID-19. None of us had ever lived through something like that. Every day was a new day. So if you're facing multiple overlapping life changes, that's something I dive deeper into in coaching and might also dedicate a future episode to. So if you'd like me to do that, let me know via DM. Be like, yes, Amber, make us an episode on this. But for now, I want to continue walking you through the seasonal arc because even in the midst of deep uncertainty, we eventually move from fall and into the next chapter, which is winter. Now listen, nobody likes winter. I don't care how much you love ice skating, winter always feels like it's way too long. And honestly, the best part of winter, which is the holidays, is right at the beginning. Then it's just like months of cold, rainy, snowy isolation. So here's the thing. Obviously, winter is the part of change most of us want to skip. It's uncomfortable, it's quiet, and it often feels like nothing is happening. As you enter winter, you might find yourself thinking, I just want to get back to normal. But deep down, another part of you knows that normal is gone. And what you need now is a new normal. There's that word again, new normal. And to get there, you have to let yourself fully experience winter, not fake a spring you're not ready for. Because when we skip winter, we end up cycling through the same patterns, trying to move on without actually healing. Like, have you ever jumped into a new relationship right after a breakup? Listen, this is a safe space. We've all done it. That rebound might distract you for a little bit, but without reflection, chances are you'll end up right back where you started or worse. That's the purpose of winter. I actually came across this beautiful metaphor from Paul David Tripp that captures this so perfectly. Rushing your transformation would be like buying fruit from the store and stapling it to a tree. I know. And I think this is so beautiful because we always want to be stable and doing well. We want to be the tree that's full of apples or oranges or, at the very least, some leaves. But something really important happens in the winter when your branches are barren. Beneath the surface, your roots are deepening. The soil is nourishing you, and every storm is making you stronger so that when the wind blows, it won't be enough to knock you over. I might even say your life is determined by how well you use your winter seasons. These seasons can either transform your life or keep you stuck in the same cycles over and over again. The difference depends entirely on the individual. But the fact that you're here listening, reflecting, hanging out with me, that means that you're already ahead of the game. And now, I want to zoom in even a little bit further because not all of winter feels the same. We do get some variety here. Not just gray, but there's shades of gray. Not 50 Shades of Gray, though. Okay. I hope you like my mom jokes. I'm in training. Okay, so early winter, there's a stretch of winter called early winter, and this is often the part we resist the most. Because besides being super uncomfortable, it also feels really counterintuitive. You think the way out of this season is by doing a ton of stuff, but actually you need to sit still. And to make things harder, you might have well meaning family or friends pushing you to just move on or figure it out already. But here's the problem with that. The most common symptom of this stage is to get stuck on an I don't know loop. Here's what that sounds like. Hey, Megan, so what do you think you want to do? Uh, I don't know. Well, what do you think is most important? I don't know. Well, what ideas have you thought of? I don't know. Well, what do you think that you like the most? I don't even know. And when you don't know, how could you expect yourself to choose the next right step for yourself? You might start trying something, second guess yourself, stop again, or feel so overwhelmed by the options that you go into analysis paralysis and freeze altogether. At this stage, what you need is quiet time. You need to let yourself hibernate. That could look different depending on what your time for this is. Okay, if you have a job and kids and a side hustle, that time might look very different than if you're someone in their early 20s going through college, right? So this all depends on what time you have available. It could look like taking 30 minutes every evening or even using your commute to reflect, or it can look like sitting down with a trusted person or a coach for one-on-one sessions. So the support you want to look for at this stage is going out and spending time in nature, resting, journaling, talking with someone you trust. What you want at this stage is to gather new insight and perspective about yourself, your situation, how you got here, and what's possible, because you need to rewrite your story. This will give you a new direction and a new hope. So here are some questions I'd want you to ask yourself at this stage. If you notice that you're in early winter, you can take some time to pause and reflect on these questions. 1, this season is asking you to reflect on what matters most to you. When you think about the person you'd want to become, where do their priorities lie? 2, what has your fear been telling you to do? 3, take a deep breath. What is your inspiration telling you to do? Where's it guiding you? 4, what new doors are opening for you in this season? This is just to get you started, but if you're listening to this thinking you're entering early winter, this will be something we could work on together in one on one coaching because it's really common to get stuck on that I don't know loop, and I can help you break out of that and move forward. Ambitious people, come to the front because you and I need to have a little conversation. I know if you're ambitious like me, okay, the part that can feel really frustrating at this stage is that you want clarity like now, like yesterday, okay? You want to fix it, plan it, and move forward right now, immediately. But early winter doesn't respond to pressure. In fact, the more you try to chase answers in this season, the more they'll seem to slip through your fingers. That's because this is a time for stillness, not for striving. It's uncomfortable, I know. But here's what I want you to remember. Even in the stillness, something is happening. This is the magic of early winter. It's quiet, yes, but it's fertile. All that inner reflection, all those moments where you feel stuck, unsure, or even a little lost, they're not empty. They're seeds. You might not feel it yet, but something is quietly shifting within you. And then one day, it's gonna click. That insight drops. That truth rises to the surface. That breath of clarity finds you. And that moment, that's your winter solstice. And yes! That is when things start getting good because your winter solstice is your pivot. Everyone knows at the winter solstice, the days start getting warmer, brighter, and longer, little by little. Okay, I said little by little. This is exciting because you had your aha moment and now you can get momentum. You're releasing the old story and finding your new story. You're building a new interpretation of past events. You have new perception. You're seeing possibilities where once you only saw dead ends. You stop fighting your past and you turn your attention to the future, and you are finally out of the I don't know loop. Once you have your new story, that internal shift, it is time to make that clear plan. At this stage, I want you to lean into each moment and act on insight, inspiration, and alignment. Follow the energized threads, nurture what's thriving and growing naturally. Overall, the length of your entire winter doesn't always depend on the situation you are going through, but on the depth of the transformation you're about to experience. I want to circle back to the idea of deep uncertainty because it can paralyze you at this stage as well. It can feel like you're standing on the edge of a cliff with a huge valley down below, and you're wondering how you can ever cross to the other side. It can show up in many forms like the global pandemic, COVID, losing your home in a wildfire, navigating political unrest, or starting over and rebuilding your life from scratch. In times like these, it can feel almost impossible to build a clear plan, and that's totally understandable. When the world around you keeps shifting day after day, trying to map out your future can feel overwhelming, even paralyzing. If you're in that space, please hear me when I say, you're not alone. You don't have to figure it out all at once. This is not the season for perfect plans. It is a season for small, steady steps. Instead of a straight line, I want you to think of it more like a staircase or even a tunnel where you can't see around the bend. All I want you to focus on is taking the next right step over and over and over again, okay? One of my favorite takeaways from the coaching class on this topic was to hold your vision like a butterfly. You would never grip on tight onto a butterfly because you would crush it and kill it. Instead, you would give it the chance to come or go to preserve its life. That's the same way I want you to hold on to your vision as you move from late winter and into spring. And honestly, that's a word even if you're not in deep uncertainty. A lot of us cause ourselves pain by clinging way too tightly on how we think something should go. But that's a story for another day and actually the topic of an upcoming podcast episode. Now, remember what I said earlier. Some of the most life-changing decisions can come out of a winter season. Now, we've all heard of post-traumatic stress, but there's also something called post-traumatic growth. And research shows that up to 50% of people who experience trauma or major life disruption will eventually experience transformation. One of the researchers described it like this: all of a sudden, they feel like a different person inhabiting the same body, with heightened sensory awareness, an increased sense of compassion and connection, and new values or goals. Many people could specify a particular moment at which transformation occurred, often at the moment when they shifted into an attitude of acceptance of their predicament. So that means 50% of people who go through a difficult situation will have increased personal strength and resilience, better, more meaningful relationships, a greater appreciation for life, more spiritual growth, a stronger connection to your values, and new sense of possibilities, hope, and optimism about the future. My hope, my vision is that all of you listening will be a part of that 50%. And as you grow through your own winter season, you'll carry the wisdom, compassion, and strength to help increase that number even more. That's why this podcast is called The Lighthouse Within, because your light doesn't just guide you, it reaches others. When you've weathered the storm and made it through the darkest nights, your story becomes a beacon. You become the lighthouse for someone else still at sea. And as the light begins to stretch across your own horizon, you'll know it's time for a new season. Welcome to spring. Now, spring doesn't arrive with fanfare, okay? It's quiet at first, subtle. For some, it's only obvious in hindsight, but you'll know it's spring when the ice starts to melt, when your heart softens, when you begin to feel like maybe you're ready to come back to life and reintegrate. But things won't be the same because you're not the same. The biggest symptom to look out for at this stage is actually that you might be feeling some hesitation. And I really want you to take that as comfort because I think sometimes after we've been in that winter hibernation season, we might be like, oh, I'm in spring. I should be excited. I should be out there. I should be going full throttle. But that's actually not what happens at the season. That is very summer energy. We are in spring. And in spring, you might be more likely to ease into things slowly and cautiously. Think of like a bear waking up for hibernation. It doesn't run out of the cave. It stretches, it like inches out. It's really chill, it's taking its time. Or you could even think of like new baby animals born in the spring who explore the world around them with curiosity, but they tend to stay close to their mom until they're really ready to venture out by themselves. Another great analogy might be like the weather in the early days of spring. You're not sure if it's still winter because some days it's really cold, and then other days the sun is like out. So, not even the sun can decide what it wants to do with its life. So, just like nature, I want you to embody a cautious curiosity. It's okay if you're not ready to run out of the cave. Remember, we're trying to make lasting change, not to end up back in winter over the same problem. This is the season where you take the plan you come up with in late winter and start putting it into action. Put your toe in the water and test at whatever pace you are comfortable. Not the pace society is comfortable with, not the pace your friend is telling you to go at, not the pace your parents or your partner wants you to go at, the pace you are comfortable with. At this stage, the biggest thing I want you to focus on is experimenting. That could look like going on a new date, trying out a part time job in a new career area. It could look like taking on new hobbies to get to know yourself better. At this stage, I just want you to continue evolving by leaning into what is growing naturally for you. Experiment. And most of all, I should do some clapping for this. And most of all, do I have your attention? Please be patient with yourself. Honing in on your intuition is also really important in spring. I mean, it's always important, but it's especially important when we're experimenting because knowing what attracts you and what repels you will help you keep moving forward and into alignment with who you want to become long term. With that said, okay, to all my people out there who love them a good plan, okay, I am speaking to you right now. Just because we came up with a plan in late winter does not mean that that's the plan you have to stick with, okay? I want you to keep that aha moment that you had at the winter solstice front and center. And from there, I want you to let your intuition guide you more than the plan. I know. Okay. I'm going to hold your hand. I know. Okay. That sounds scary. But it's totally normal that you make a plan and then you start putting it into action and experimenting and leaning into your intuition and realizing, like, I actually don't like this, or I would have preferred that, or I like that better, or now that I'm actually doing it and getting to know more, I'm learning more. So the plan that I created back in late winter doesn't include all of this new information that I'm learning. So obviously now I want to change it. And this is actually really good because that's how we develop our intuition. So keep that curious, experimental mindset front and center, okay? That will help you move back into your summer season more than a perfect plan. I have some free resources on intuition as well that I will link in the show notes, and I will also be revisiting this topic in a future episode. With that said, I actually want to tell you about our upcoming series. I will be helping you in rewriting your story through a series on building your sense of self. This will be 12 episodes all about building your core identity, which is an important aspect of resilience. And I'm just so excited about this. So, some of the topics we'll be talking about is the role of your ego in letting go of how you thought something would happen, building your values, the role of healthy and unhealthy friendships in building your identity, people pleasing, boundaries, and way more. And I'm super, super excited to plan this series. I feel like it's been on my heart for months now, and it just feels like the perfect time to get into that. So, to plan this series and get it all together, I will be taking a few weeks off here in April and will be returning in May with a brand new episode. And now, as you know how we do around here, it is time for a final message. So please close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and feel your heart beating beneath your touch. Steady, present, alive. And as you breathe in, let the air around you fill you with peace, with light, and with hope. As you breathe out, let each particle carry away your worries, your fears, and anything that feels heavy. Breathe in again. Feel the light in this moment. And with your next exhale, please receive this message. You are not in a lost chapter of your life. You are the hero in the middle of the storm, pausing in the stillness, listening for the way forward, about to find your way home. This is your turning point. You're becoming. Every summer you've ever lived has shown you joy. Every fall has stripped away what no longer serves you. Every winter has deepened your roots. And every spring has invited you to rise. This is the season that will shape you. This is the season that will strengthen your voice. This is the season that will soften your heart. This is the season that will sharpen your vision. So take the next step, slowly, bravely, and perfectly. Because one day, you'll look back at this season and realize it was a chapter that changed everything. Your story is not over. It's only just beginning. And I'm so honored to walk alongside you as it unfolds. Take another deep breath in. Hold it. And exhale. You can open your eyes now. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of The Lighthouse Within. I hope it's been helpful for you to explore what season of change you might be experiencing and what you need to move forward. If you're unsure, please feel free to DM me. I'd love to help you. And in the meantime, hold this truth close to your heart. Every season, even the ones that feel heavy, is weaving itself into the beautiful, resilient story of your life. And one day, you'll look back and whisper, I can't believe how far I've come. I am always, always rooting for you, dear friend. Until next time, bye.